Welcome back, troops. Let's tab 59. Bit of a pea super here today, as the Royal Air Force would say. Bit of a pea super, but still nice and mild, which is great. So I want to talk today about beards in the armed forces, but in particular beards in the British Army. So the Royal Navy, for instance, you guys have always been allowed to get permission to grow a full set of beard, as long as it's in the regulations of keeping it trimmed, etc. Royal Air Force 2019, you guys got permission to grow beards too. Now I think the Royal Marines have still got a ban on beards. The British Royal Marines, I think you've still got a ban. I might be wrong. I didn't check that fully. But the British Army, since March 2024, so not quite a year ago, have allowed troops to grow beards. Now, historically, there was a time when it was it was almost compulsory in the British Army to have a beard. You go back to the Crimean times, look at old photographs, pictures, etc. Soldiers sporting beards, and it seems that everyone had beards. But in 1916, so just into the First World War, a major general, I can't remember his name, he outlawed beards. And that was it. No one's supposed to grow a beard. There's always historically been exceptions to that rule in the British Army. For instance, assault pioneer sergeants, they were allowed to grow a beard. I think drum majors and bugle majors, I think they were allowed to grow beards. And also in the Welsh regiments, the goat major, I think he was allowed to grow a beard too. Other exceptions will obviously have been religious grounds. I imagine Muslim and maybe Sikh were allowed to grow beards. And of course, if you had a medical reason to grow a beard, maybe there was some sort of skin irritation, whether that was temporary or permanent, I don't know, you were also allowed to grow beards. But apart from those, you had to be clean shaven. Now, when I was in the army, the reason given to us that you had to be clean shaven was because of CBRN, or MBC as it used to be called, nuclear, biological and chemical, CBRN, chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear. Because of the gas mask, the seal around your respirator, the contact between the seal and the face could be affected if you had facial hair. And so you had to remain clean shaven for that purpose. I also heard that another reason why we shaved was in cold weather. It was good to have clean shaven skin so that you could check for signs of frostbite. However, when you look at most Arctic explorers, people going across the Antarctic, North Pole or whatever, they all had beards because I suppose maybe they couldn't shave. It was logistically difficult for them to boil water to shave with, or maybe it was because they felt it was, and there is a degree of truth in this, that they say a beard will give you some insulation on your skin from the cold. So we had a ban on beards, and it's been lifted. And I believe one of the main reasons it was lifted last year, 2024, was to aid recruiting into the British Army, because it's quite fashionable for the last few years, or a number of years now, for men to have beards. At one time, no one really had beards. It was like a history teacher or a maths teacher or an artist. There was only people that grew beards, or ZZ Top. But so it became quite fashionable for men to grow beards. And maybe that was putting off young men joining the British Army. The British Army's in recruitment crisis. It has been for some time. And also I think that up until when the ban was lifted, we was not even hitting 50% of our recruiting targets in the British Army. And so they thought maybe if we relax the rules, allow young men who want to join up to have a beard, it would aid recruiting. I don't think that's worked. I don't think that's helped much at all. But anyway, beards are allowed now to be worn. And also I've heard that the latest generation of a respirator, gas mask, if you like, that we've got in the British Army or the British Armed Forces, the GS respirator, is a lot more advanced than the old S6 and certainly the S6 and the S10 that we had, and that the seal is much improved, and it would allow for a neatly trimmed beard would still give you protection. If you put your respirator on, it's not going to affect that important seal around your face, and so therefore beards are allowed. But of course there's regulations to that beard. It has to be a certain length, it's got to be kept neat and trim. I don't think it's allowed above your cheekbone area. I think that's a cut off sort of area there. It mustn't grow up to your cheekbone. So you look like a werewolf. And I believe underneath the chin here it's got to be kept nice and trim. But here's the thing. So they're saying now, yes, it's okay to grow a beard, and yes, the new GS respirator is designed in such a way that it's going to protect you in an NBC environment, in a chemical gas environment, biological warfare environment. It's going to still give you protection. You're not going to get the nasties in, and I'm sure that has been tested in the CS respirator testing facilities I have on camps. So those that you don't know, all British Forces camps, or most camps, have, for want of a better title, a gas chamber, a CS chamber, where we use CS gas, which is tear gas, and that's to train and to test your equipment. So what happens in the British Army in basic training, every recruit, when they're going through their CBRN training, initial training, will, after they've gone through dry training drills, putting all the CBRN kit on, the trousers, the boots, the overboots, the smock, gloves, etc., will don their respirator, and 5, 6, maybe 8 at a time, depends on how big the respirator facility is, will all troop in there, fully kitted up, jump around a little bit so they've got a bit of movement, so they see their kit is fitting all right, and in that CS chamber will be CS gas, tear gas, for want of a better word, tear gas. And that should show the troops that are going through that chamber that their kit works, because they shouldn't feel the effects. If the kit is fitted properly and it's in good working order, they should not feel the effects of CS gas, tear gas. So it gives them confidence in their equipment and kit. So I'm sure that when they lifted the ban on beards, that they tested this out with the new respirator. It's been out a while now. I call it new because it came in just before I left the army. I left in 2015. So it come out a little bit before that. So it's been out over 10 years. So they've obviously tested that new GS respirator with troops, with beards, in a CS environment. And obviously those results must have been fine. It's kept out. So if you keep out CS gas, the theory is, if your respirator with your beard keeps out CS gas, then it's going to stop other nasties, real nasties like nerve agents, etc. But if you're in a prolonged campaign in a CBRN environment, with a risk of a CBRN environment, and I don't know, maybe in the field it's difficult to keep that beard trimmed underneath there, would you be happy to have your beard and put your respirator on, the rest of your CBRN kit on, in a real situation with nerve agent poisoning, nerve agent floating around? Would you be happy? I know what I would do. I'd get that razor out and I'd get that beard off, certainly all around here. So maybe that's what they do. Maybe when you go into a CBRN environment, you would shave along that area where the respirator is going to seal to keep out the nasties. I don't know. I know what this call sign would be doing. I'd be getting that razor out. I'd be getting that beard off, making sure I'd got a proper seal on my respirator in relation to my face. But there you go. It's all legal now. I've seen some troops marching on TV last year, some parade or other, guards smart in their scarlet tunics with their bearskins on, and looking along the long line, the rank of guards, the ones with beards really did stand out. It just seemed to lose that uniformity, if you know what I mean. You know, you look down the line of soldiers, the bearskins coming just over their eyes, and every now and again you saw a bloke with a beard, big red ginger one or a black one, whatever. And I thought, it just don't look quite the same. But I'm old school. What do I know? Beards have only been banned for, what, just over 100 years. Before that, everyone wore them. I've wondered, when I saw that the ban come into force in the British Army in 1916, I assumed that it was because in World War One, that was the first real use of chemical weapons on the battlefield, i.e. mustard gas, chlorine gas. And obviously British troops developed gas masks over that period. So I wondered whether they brought the ban in then in 1916 because they couldn't, in the old respirators they had then, the old gas masks they had then, whether they couldn't get that all-important seal between the skin, the face, and the respirator. So I thought it was that, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe just this general at the time didn't like facial hair on troops, and so he banned it. So I say the ban's only been in, well, it came in 1916, and in 2024 the ban has been lifted, and now you can rock up and look like ZZ Top. Well, you can't have a big long beard. It can't be one of these big Father Christmas beards. It's got to be neat and trimmed and tidied and looked after. So maybe it's a good thing. I'd like to know what you think, whether you think there's no problem at all. Soldiers should be allowed to grow their beards within reason, obviously, keeping them neat like they do. I'm sure it doesn't make you a better soldier having a beard. It doesn't make you a worse soldier having a beard. But as I say, me personally, if I was still serving, I don't think I'd grow one, just because I don't like beards. I had one for a while, didn't like it. But as I say, if you went into a CBR environment, see, yeah, in camp, you go down to do your annual test with your CBRN test, and you go into the CS chamber and do all your drills. You've been in camp, so of course you know you're going into that CS chamber the next day. So you're going to make extra sure that your beard is nice and trimmed and tight to you, and you're going to get your respirator on with no problem. But what if? I'm a big believer in what if. What if you do deploy to a war zone, to a conflict area, where there's a threat, a real threat of CBRN, certainly of chemical warfare happening, nerve agents being dropped on you, and you've been out in the field in this campaign for several weeks. I'm guessing you might not have a little electric beard trimmer with you in your kit. You're probably just going to have the old Mark I razor blade. That's going to be difficult to trigger if you're going to shave it off, aren't you? You're going to shave all that bit off. I would anyway, just to make sure I wasn't going to start sucking in sarin and ended up twitching about on the floor like I'm breakdancing. But that's just my take on it. Interested to know what you think. Also, the Royal Navy, remember, they've never had a ban on beards by the looks of it. They've always been able to grow a beard with permissions and within regulations, etc. And I always thought they were allowed to, not just because of tradition. I was under the impression they were allowed to grow beards because in a CBRN environment, the Royal Navy would be on board ship, and those ships are pressurized. You don't have to wear your respirator when you batten down. They batten the ship down, and obviously you're in there. You don't need to wear your respirator because you've got this seal on the ship. So I always thought it was because of that, but again, I might be wrong. Let me know what you think about beards in the armed forces. Maybe you're a serving soldier now and you've got a beard and it's no drama at all. Or maybe you're a serving soldier and you've seen instances where people have had a beard, gone into the CBRN chamber, the gas chamber, and it's affected them. I'd be interested to know. I don't think it does, but like I say, if you deploy to a conflict and you've got a beard and they start dropping sarin on you, or Novichok or whatever it is, what would you do about your beard? Are you happy with a beard in that sort of environment? I don't think I would be. Anyway, that's enough of that. Got to get on with my tab through this fog. If you're new to my channel, you haven't subscribed, please consider it. I'm not saying do it, I'm saying consider it. And I've been getting so much, I've been getting so many more subscribers just recently. Thank you to all of you that have recently subscribed. Thank you to all the subscribers for supporting me. It's really, really appreciated. It's helping my channel grow. Got lots coming up this year, I promise. If all goes well, I won't be just walking around these lanes in Lincolnshire. I'll be going off to other places, somewhere a little bit more exotic than Lincolnshire. That's difficult, isn't it? Lincolnshire's very exotic. Anyway, enough waffle. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe until next time. Let's tab.